So we went through scenario one and kind of talked it over. And so what we thought should happen is, first of all, the principal needs to be made aware of the situation. We don't think that he should really be involved in any of the punishment per se, because I feel like as the athletic director, he's going to be the closest to the situation and the best equipped to handle that. But I also think that the parents should be sent an email for all of the athletic teams just so that they're made aware of what's going on and the, problems that are facing the athletic department, so no parents are mad. Like, everyone knows, oh, this is something unfortunate that happened. Then we thought that as punishment, we should try and just prevent the football players from using the locker room. I remember for my high school for track, I would have to change in the bathrooms just because as a track athlete, we weren't even allowed in the locker room. But I think that it's kind of like, if the track athletes and the cross country athletes are allowed in the locker room and it's a shared locker room, there should be kind of a repercussion. As Logan said, if you abuse it, you lose it. And so I think that's something like, if you can kind of try and figure out a way to make that work, I feel like that would be a great way to incentivize people, not using that language.
When we first discussed it, I was a little bit like, wow, like that's quite a step. But then I really thought about it, and I really loved that idea, because as they get older, they're going to become adults, and these are really, really like basically baby adults. And so if they do continue on in their careers, if you do something of this nature, there's a possibility of you get fired, or you get put on the practice squad, or in this situation, practice squad, or things of this nature, because of the society we live in now. And so it's like preparation for when you do leave high school. Like, if you do behave in this manner, this is what could happen to you, but this is the light scale option of it.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for the higher scale option of it when you are an adult?
And so with that, I mean, we mainly felt like, because it was not just one player, but kind of a group of players, of football players, kind of making remarks to other students, that it probably wasn't even, like, it could have been in reference to the cross-country coach, but it wasn't necessarily homophobic. It was more just ignorant, and high school students being very immature, ignorant high school students. And so with that, we felt like, although it is a horrible slur that no one should say, we should punish them as a full team and not be singling out any one student. And there should be punishment, but the punishment should be widespread, and people should be made aware of the situation so that it doesn't occur in the future. Afterwards, after the probation period, or the athletes are let back in the locker room, I think that we should continue to keep the locker room separate, and we should have a separate locker room for track and football, just because, again, I think that it's not necessarily just something that's going to happen once, because it's mainly based on ignorance.
I also see that there might be some kind of like retaliation if they were to bring all of them back in the same locker room, because like we discussed, they are high school guys, and just high schoolers in general, because every person that's in high school is immature, no matter what your gender is, no matter honestly how old you are, what you look like, you're just immature at that age and time frame. So they could come back in and be a little bit even more volatile than they were before, and maybe this one slur turns into a lot of slurs or something else. Or they could just be, we're so sorry, we're back to normal, but it's not worth risking that. And so it is just the safer option to, like David said, fully go with just separate locker rooms. And it works. I mean, when you were in high school, they were separate locker rooms.
Scenario 2?
Yes. So then for scenario 2, we said that the scenario itself needed more information overall to like really get a better base on payment and what decides their payment and their rates and what are their contracts looking like, because yes, we did get some base information on each coach, but we never fully got a written out description of, okay, that is the basis of what they're being paid for. Did we agree that those were good biases, whatever, to be paid for? Yes, because in the revenue basing portion of it, the media coverage, all of that is important, and that is what kind of keeps the teams at the universities, and so they can get the materials and supplies they need to continue playing. But we can't really see if that is why they're getting paid what they're getting paid. And I do think that if the female coach went there and the athletic director said, you know what, I will give you some more money, like your team overall has been doing well for this subset of years, which we thought was very important because they've proved themselves through numerous years. Because if the female basketball team was doing well for just maybe like even just 5 years, we wouldn't necessarily say a payment raise is needed, because then 5 years after that they could be doing horrible. So we did think it was a good idea for them to be doing well for a long stretch of time, and that yes, there should be some kind of payment raise put in there if that happened, but there's no proof in that in the example. And we know that there's different kind of like equal employment acts and things of that nature, but we don't know all the details of it. If her pay was not changed, there's numerous things that could happen, but the easiest option is that, you know, she applies for another job, gets the job, and then quits that school. But it also could light a fire under her and really be a motivator for her and the women on that basketball team to kind of do better and like show the athletic director we are worth this price. But I also think that maybe allowing her and the team more benefits that the men's basketball team is getting, like media coverage time, more time in the home stadium, primetime games, investments in infrastructure just for them. Sorry, the area around us is getting busy. And then immediately upon reaction, I wasn't sure if it was the best idea to go talk to the men's basketball coach because it wasn't necessarily needed. But then once I really looked at the example, by the end of my thought process, I was thinking to myself, well, maybe they should just fire the men's coach because he's not doing his job. But that's the case. You have another coach, no matter what gender she is, doing their job and really getting the job done, no matter if it's bad players and she's a good coach or if it's great players and a great coaching situation. So there has to be some kind of reassessment of the men's coaching team of, is it a bad coaching, bad leadership, and great players, or bad players, great leadership, or a mix of both? And it's important when you do have the female and male counterparts of sports and being able to go, okay, so this team is doing better, but why? And does that determine how much you're paid?
Yeah. And another kind of just visual representation that we can see in sports right now of this is like, you know, the High Point University women's basketball team is generally pretty good. And before Coach Huss got here, the men's team was generally pretty bad. But we still had more men and more students showing up for the men's games than we did people showing up for the women's games, even though the performance of the women was much better than with our last coach. But then also, like, if you look at a bigger school, a different school in women's basketball, like Iowa, I couldn't name any Iowa male basketball star, but I could name Caitlin Clark as a female basketball star. And with that, like, national championship success and level, like, I feel like because of that media attention, the female coach at a place like Iowa could be getting paid more than their male basketball coach. But I think that that's just an example, and you have to see that and actually look at the data for you to be able to make a change like that.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Bye.